Intending to deliver the student congratulatory speech, Siluca rushes to the church where Alexis and Marion are to be wed. Once she arrives, Sylvester and Matthias briefly speak to one another about meeting together in this kind of setting. As it's noted that the wedding between Alexis and Marion will bring in a new age of peace between the two factions. The unification will merge the factions' crests, resulting in the creation of the Grancrest, the Emperor's Holy Seal, thereby allowing Atlaton to finally achieve peace. Siluca, however, senses a chaos converge and tries to stop it, but is stopped by Irvin. This allows the Demon Lord to emerge in the church and erect a dimensional barrier, entrapping Matthias and Sylvester within it. They merge their crests, forming the Grancrest, to try and use it against the Demon Lord, but it proves ineffective and they die. The event that took place there was thereafter called the Great Hall Tragedy. Because of this event, Attilan was divided into two. Furthermore, the alliance for peace between the two factions was sequentially shattered, raining the war efforts. Time passes by and Irvin leads via horse and carriage Siluca to the lord she was assigned to, Count Villar. Siluca notes her disdain for the lord and how he treats the mages he contracts are by appearance. She also notes how peculiar Irvin is, as he's a former chamberlain for the Kreische family and now serves her instead. Irvin's reason for this is atonement for his action toward her back at the wedding. At that moment, the carriage is stopped by a group of soldiers sent by a lord affiliated with the alliance. Although attacking a mage before her contract begins is a violation of the pact, the soldiers don't care. In response to this, Siluca readies herself for combat. Just then a man on horseback named Theo arrives and tries to stop the soldiers, but fails. With the power of his crest and swordsmanship, Theo manages to disperse the soldiers. Alone now, Theo and Siluca talk and introduce themselves to each other. When asked about his crest, Theo says he received it by killing demons, to which Siluca inquires what kind of world he wants to create with it. He answers that the land he was born in, called Sistina, has a high concentration of chaos there which breeds many demons. Furthermore, the tyranny of Lord Rossini is just a great of a problem there too. Therefore, Theo strives to level up his crest and return home to his people in order to help them. Siluca compliments Theo's endeavor, but candidly tells him his inadequacy to achieve his goal. Rather than pledge fealty to Rossini in order to be made a lord, Theo will tread the arduous journey of raising the power of his crest with his own power. Impressed by this conviction, Siluca agrees to help Theo. Chanting a magical summoning spell, Siluca summons the chaos beast Tartarus. Perplexed as to why Siluca did this, she claims if Theo manages to defeat it and absorb its core, he'll rank up to knight. Although disconcerted by this audacious display, Theo agrees to fight it and claims if he were to die fighting it, he'll haunt Siluca. The mage finds the comment amusing and claims that she wouldn't have it any other way. The fight then begins between Theo and Tartarus, and the young swordsman has trouble fending for himself at first. However, in the end, he manages to stab the beast in the heart, killing it. Sequentially after the fight, Theo collects the chaos core from the beast and his crest becomes that of a knight. This new crest will also allow him to be able to form a contract with a mage. Taking advantage of the situation, Siluca forms a contract with Theo. Meanwhile, Lord Mest Medric is reproached by his retainer Satyrus in his throne room. The reproach is about the repercussive consequences that could occur due to his interference with a mage on their way to form a contract with their assigned lord. Lord Mest, however, cares not for such things and demands that his retainer be obsequious to his demands, to which Satyrus concedes. Just then a soldier arrives and conveys that a lord named Theo and his two comrades have arrived and demanded that Mest surrender his crest and castle. At first, Mest laughs this off, but the arrival of Theo, Siluca, and Irvin in his throne room and that his retainer Satyrus betrays him change this. Drawing his sword, Mest tries to attack Siluca, but Theo defends her, and Irvin restrains him by holding a knife to his throat. Because of this, Mest forfeits his crest and castle. Afterward, Mest leaves his former domain on horseback. With the crest and castle in his possession, Satyrus pledges fealty to Theo. Siluca also announces that instead of negotiating with the local lords, Theo is going to join the Union. This is to allow his vision to come true, even though he believes he'll die before that happens. David is informed of not only Theo's acquisition of Lord Mest's crest and castle, but also him joining the Union by his subordinate Moreno. Elated by this news, David plans an attack against Theo, regardless of what the lords of Clovis think. At Theo's castle, Siluca reports that the 3 villages that fall under his jurisdiction recognize him as their new lord. The topic of taxes is then discussed, as the villages were heavily taxed by the previous lord. Hearing this, makes Theo sullenly regret becoming the new lord, as he simply wanted to become the lord to his small impoverished village. Because of the condition of his village, he left the island his village was on. Siluca notes that what Theo did could be considered abandonment and that in doing so he'll become stronger in order to save it when he returns. Theo notes the candidness of the last remark and Siluca simply says that she's a goal-oriented person. Furthermore, if Theo is an over-virtuous person that wouldn't sit well for the goal at hand. Later in her quarters, Siluca and Irvin discuss matters pertaining to the surrounding lords and who will take action first. Irvin believes that it'll be the Lord of Civis, Lassic David. The man boasts great military power and has recently hired mercenaries to his cause, which draws the question should they hire their own. On the other hand, Siluca admonishes that notion and prefers to contact a friend instead and has Irvin continue his reconnaissance of the local lords. Irvin agrees to do so and leaves. With Irvin gone, Siluca summons her cat familiar Sir Balgary. Upon his arrival, Sir Balgary allows Siluca to pick him up and scratch his ears, an honor that pleases her. Siluca then informs Sir Balgary that she wants him to deliver a message to Aishella, which disconcerts him. However, once Sir Balgary completes this mission, she'll have many treats waiting for him upon his return. Hearing this, Sir Balgary agrees to deliver the message and vanishes out of sight. That afternoon, Siluca and Theo talk about why Siluca absconded from her duty to form a contract with her assigned lord. Siluca resents serving a lord that has shady motives, she favors ones with more dignified ideals like the First Lord Leon. All Theo has to do is maintain his moral conviction as he rises to power and Siluca will always be by his side. Without hesitation, Theo agrees to that and says he'll be relying on Siluca, to which, the mage, thanks her. That night, David and his forces ready themselves for their siege on Theo's castle. David's mage Moreno is an acquaintance of Siluca and is ordered to take care of her by David. The following morning, David and his 50 troops and 5 mercenaries are seen at closing in on Theo's castle. Siluca has Theo stay in the castle as she and the newly arrived Aishella shall take care of everything. Upon her arrival, Aishella embraces Siluca. After learning that Theo is Siluca's lord, warns him that she'll kill him if he does anything unscrupulous to Siluca. Sequentially, Theo is introduced to Sir Balgary and Aishella chooses her weapon to use in battle. Once the invading forces are close enough, David gives his troops the signal to attack. Knowing full well that the invading forces' mage has cast an invisibility spell for scouting purposes. Siluca has Irvin take the right flank, Aishella the center, while she will take the right flank. On her side, Siluca entraps the soldiers in a magical wall made of earth and zaps them unconscious with a thunder spell. It's then that Morena lands a light blow on Siluca with his magic. Revealing himself to his former junior, Moreno plans to use her as leverage for winning the battle by making her surrender. Morena attacks Siluca with his sword. She, in turn, defends herself with her abjuration magic. On Aishella's side, she forces her attacks to retreat, making her pursue them and entrap the leader named Petter of the group with a kiss. Petter then tries to restrain Aishella and martyrs himself to have his men kill him along with her. This tactic fails, so Petter and his men retreat, which causes Aishella to take a great interest in Petter, much to his dismay. Focusing Irvin, who handily kills the soldiers on his side, David has his captain Gluck fight against Irvin. Immediately, Gluck hardens his skin as if it was steel, making it impossible for Irvin to be able to use his knives against his opponent. So in retaliation, Irvin throws a knife at one of his most vulnerable spots, his right eye. Shifting back to Morena versus Siluca, who both show great fatigue while fighting against each other. At that moment, Theo arrives on the scene and replaces Siluca as Morena's opponent. The two briefly fight on par, until Theo manages to land a blow on Morena's left cheek. Elsewhere, Irvin and David were about to face off against each other, but are stopped by Theo, who reveals he has his mage hostage. Because of this, David surrenders. That evening, David submits himself to Theo and pledges fealty towards him in hopes that one day he'll conquer the surrounding lands. Theo agrees to this and takes his crest, upgrading it to the rank of Baron.